computer. So, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon from Crete, from Heraklion, from Hellenic Mediterranean University. On behalf of the International Relations Office of the Hellenic Mediterranean University, the Athena European Alliance, and I'm very happy that a lot of colleagues from the Athena Alliance are present. And on behalf of my two colleagues, Professor George Kakavelakis and Professor George Kavoulakis, that we organize this series of activities mainly in order to network and our scientists and more than this, to inspire our young scientists to research, to network, their research and network in order to collaborate. I would like to welcome Professor Kamil Filipek from an Athena partner, the University of Marie Curie Skłodowska in Poland. He's going to discuss with us a very, I will say, a hot topic about the impact of artificial intelligence in science and research, but not only the impact, but also the challenges which can be considered a part of the impact. Few words about Kamil. He's a data scientist, a sociologist, and entrepreneur, head of the Center of Artificial Intelligence and Computer Modeling at Marie Curie Skłodowska University in Poland. He implements solutions based on artificial intelligence methods in social science and health, and he co-organized the data science Lublin meetings. In the topic, his scientific research includes the impact of digital technologies on the structures and functioning of modern societies. I'm not going to talk more. I will give the floor to Kamil. He's excited, I can see from his body language, in order to dive us in this magic, in our reality, I would say. The floor is yours, Kamil, and thank you very much on behalf of my collaborators, my partners, my colleagues, the Athena European Alliance. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much for such warm introduction. So let me share my screen with you first. Let's make sure it works now. It's supposed to be working. So, all right, I'm sharing, and of course, full screen. Is it full screen now?
Not yet.
Not yet. Let's wait. Not a full screen. Oh. Once again, sorry. Sometimes it happens. We need to try again. We know it works, so
yeah, we know. We test
a chance. Okay. Here.
Excellent.
Thank you very much. So that's nice to hear that. So thank you very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be with you. But I'm also aware of the fact that this topic is very hot, at the same time very complex, very complicated. I was thinking how to prepare myself for this presentation, because I know that the audience is very diverse. So I could plunge into very engineering topics and it would be very boring for the others. At the same time, I could talk only about theory, which would be very boring for those being interested in more detailed problems that are related to AI. So I was trying to be somewhere in between. I will show you what are my general notes, experiences based on what I do and what I did, what I probably will do too. So let me start with this. Okay. So I was already introduced very quickly when I started my career in AI. It's about 10 years ago when I did my postdoc at the University of Warsaw. So that was a time when everything was starting very, very dynamically, what was related to AI, and I'm still in, and I believe next few years will not change. So this is my last project. It's called Health Shop. Shop is a raccoon in Polish, and this is actually a startup, technological startup where we use AI for different things. So why I've chosen this topic? This is the first question. This is me, very handsome version of me generated by DALL-E. So of course it's not me, but everything is based on my experience in 3 different fields. One is science, the other one is education, and third is business. So I will try to show you some pros and cons to be active in these 3 fields, how they are similar to each other, how they differ, but in fact, there is a lot of similarities. I would say that contemporary business is turning much into the science when we talk about the AI. So a couple of years ago, I was fully surprised when I've seen the presentation in front of one of our clients, when one of my colleagues, he presented everything like a scientist, showing his bibliography, etc., because people started to ask him, what sources did you use? So you see this, it's really changing. AI is changing business. It's very, very scientific now, I would say. So this is how it works. So what is AI? Some common problems. I'm not gonna give you the definition of AI. Sorry, I know it's boring. Many people have been presented that already. If you're interested in different ways of defining AI, I send you to the book of Anthony Elliott, one of my colleague, professor from Australia. He proposes 7 different definitions of AI in his book, Making Sense of AI. So if you're happy with that, if you're not really familiar with the topic, I advise you to start your career with AI from the formal definition. But formal definition is, as I said, is not my problem. I will rather show you 3 different misunderstandings which are related to AI. This is something I met quite often when I speak to different people, and I like to stop for a while on that. I think it helps a lot when people realize what AI can do, what cannot do, and this is important. So let me start with the first way of approach to AI. For many people in academia, unfortunately, AI is something unknown, but more precisely, it's simply ignored by scientists. Many people have no idea what AI is, but they assume just straight, no, it's not related to my areas of research. I don't need AI. I'm good enough without AI. Probably AI will never be as good as me. It's maybe related to the other way of defining AI. But still, this kind of approach is very bad today, I would say, because I believe a lot of people will be surprised if they are not surprised yet, because AI is changing quickly everything around us. In terms of research, in terms of education. So this approach is bad. And what the shame is, I still met people with this kind of approach. Second approach, wizard. So some people believe AI is able to do everything. So they're coming to me and asking, I have some problems. Can you please help me to resolve these problems? Because I know that AI can do that, can do everything, in fact. That's what they really tell me. But the fact is that you need to be very careful with this kind of approach too. AI is able to do a lot, but I will not say that AI is able to do everything nowadays. It can help us a lot. It's a really useful tool in our work, but still be careful. Simply be careful. So it's not wizard. Maybe in a few years' time, it will be kind of wizard. There are certain areas where AI really changes everything. But still, when we talk about the science, in general, of course, it's not wizard yet. So the third way, which is also very interesting, and it's been repeated many times during the conference we have right now, AI is kind of imperfect model. It will never replace us. No, AI is not that good as I thought. I was trying to use AI. No, it still needs to be improved. The problem is that those people who say that, they usually don't know how to use AI. A good example is ChatGPT. Many people say ChatGPT is stupid. ChatGPT is not stupid. It's a matter of prompting. If you know how to prompt, ChatGPT is never stupid. If you don't know how to prompt, it may appear as a stupid tool. So unfortunately, a lot of people don't know how to use this kind of tools, and they assess AI in general as something imperfect, which has to be improved, it has to be corrected to be as good as they are. Maybe one digression. I spoke to a lot of colleagues in philology department. There is a group of those who think like that, but there is also a group of people who know that those models are even better than many translators, etc., etc. Anyway, very interesting area. So what is AI in fact for scientists? How it can be used and how we often use it? I propose you 4 different options that AI can be used in your work, but it also related to my experience. First of all, is kind of advanced data analyzer, sometimes interpreter, because it's able to detect certain hidden patterns and associations. It's perfect because, you know, in the past, we had to write code, a lot of code, trying to detect certain patterns, associations, etc., etc. Nowadays, it's very easy. You can simply upload your file to, for example, ChatGPT, but it's not only ChatGPT, and you can find a lot of interesting results using this kind of tool. So many people use AI as this kind of tool, and I am one of them. It's kind of task automation tool, maybe in chemistry, in biology. So it can, for example, automate the process of drug discovery simulation, but not only. It can generate and automate certain areas related to data pre-processing, etc., etc. So some people know how to use it in these areas, so they really save time playing with dirty data, with initial data analysis, etc., etc., and it automates a lot of scientific tasks. Third option is very interesting. It's called Optimize, especially in computer science. A lot of my colleagues, they say, you know, since I started to use AI tools, my code is much better. But it's not only about computer scientists, it's about everyone who is using code in his work, scientific work. Imagine the situation. You think you have very, very good code. It's fast, it works, etc. But what if you get alternative version of your code prepared by AI? It's very, very useful because you can realize that, wow, I thought it's perfect, but it's not perfect. I can see I still can improve it. So code optimization is very interesting area to use AI tools. Decision support system. It's very, very, very interesting, especially in social science. It's changing very quickly nowadays. When I go to different conferences, I see especially young researchers using a lot of AI in social science to have better results, to have better insights into different problems they're playing with, especially policy analysis, different forecasts related to social life. So yes, this is also decision support system, and I hope it will be decision support system not only for scientists but also for politicians, because they need this kind of tools. Right. So let me go through another question, which is often asked by scientists. They often hesitate. They have a problem. Is AI for all of us? Can we use AI in our work? I would say definitely yes, but there are a few buts. What do I mean? It's really good to know what AI is and how it works. And I'm gonna show you how to get familiar with these things very quickly. There is one very, very good method to use to get familiar with AI, and at least some basic task it can do, because the number of tasks AI is performing is quite limited. That's why it's not a wizard at this time. So it's very important to get familiar with these tasks, to match them with our work. It helps a lot. What is also very good, start to search your field. If you have good results, good AI being used in your field, it could be a good starting point. Try to improve it, try to make it better. Maybe you can find another solution using different AI tasks, different models. But it's important to have a literature review. And it's also very interesting and very important if you plan to use AI, to split your job into different tasks. Because AI likes to help you a lot, but if you know which areas could be supported by AI. So I called it algorithmic way of thinking. If you change it that way, it's gonna be quite easy for you to use different AI tools in your scientific work. So let me go. Okay, frequent questions. Many scientists starting AI career and thinking of playing with this kind of tools ask the same question. Do I need to have programming skills to start to work with AI? If does, which programming language will be the best for me? And I show you a very quick comparison. I use both languages, Python and R, and there are some pros and cons of both. There is no ultimate answer saying, yeah, you should use Python. No, you should use R. Both are very good, but everything depends on the area of your research. I would say that R is a very niche program. It's a very niche program. It has amazing libraries, very niche libraries. Sometimes people don't even realize they exist. Python is more general. So it's really well adjusted to frameworks like TensorFlow, like PyTorch. I will show them in a few seconds. But when you search for the very niche libraries, it might be difficult to find them. Let me give you one example I use. In my job, I, for example, using Moken scaling. It's called Moken scaling method. And, Rob Moken was a scientist who invented this method in 70s, and it wasn't that popular. But in 2004, there was library published in R about Moken scaling. So now I can easily use all the function prepared by one of my, maybe not my colleagues, in Holland. And you don't have to write these functions from scratch. You only know the theory, then you can upload this library, and it's amazing. In Python, it's impossible. People rather do not work that way. They build very, very big usually big libraries that are aimed to help different kind of people. So these are the most important frames. It only shows that, for example, there is a torch here and here. There is a version for R2. Some people are not aware of that, but there is also torch version for R. TensorFlow could be applied both R and Python, but there are, of course, other frames that could be used too. I'm using these two frames, PyTorch and TensorFlow, and I believe they are the most important. Of course, recently I also use large models. I will tell you a bit about that. But anyway, these two frames are for everyone. The question is, which language do you prefer? Which is more comfortable for you? One remark is they are not very far from each other. They're quite close to each other. So it's also recommended to use both. If you start learning both at the same time, it's not really complicated. But there is another question. Can I use AI without programming skills? Yes, of course, it's possible nowadays. You can read the article, Modern Artificial Intelligence with Zero Coding. You've got two different approaches in this field. One is called low code, the other one is called no code. Simply, I called it using AI by clicking. This is the way it works. But of course, there is a huge risk related to this kind of approach, because sometimes you're not able to control everything you're trying to apply in your scientific work. So it is possible, but it has some risk related to it. So be aware of that. Let me give you the example, which is not exactly AI, but I think it's quite clear. A few years ago, I turned to R. I'm not using SPSS. Many of my colleagues using SPSS. But I remember we had a situation where we got feedback from the reviewer. He asked about very details about our analysis being done in SPSS, and my colleague, he said, I'm not able to answer this question. So I have to rewrite everything in R to answer the questions of the reviewer. So the same story with AI. If you use low code or no code approach, be aware of the fact that if people ask you about details, you might not be able to answer them. So I still believe it's better to approach AI with coding, with programming skills, because you can control everything and you can answer sometimes very bizarre questions. So let me go through another very important thing related to AI in research: computational resources. Everything is fine as long as you work with small data sets, with small problems, but the problems becoming much bigger if you need to have huge computational resources. And it costs, simply it costs. And of course, I show you how to use it: Google Cloud, Microsoft, and AWS, Amazon Web Services, but be aware of the fact they cost. So first of all, make sure maybe you are able to use your own resources at university. If you have, that's fine. If not, you can use the paid sources. But there is one more thing I'd like to mention at this stage, because even if we use these external resources, everything is fine as long as we have a project. But what if project stops? And finance is always limited. So you need to be aware of the fact that if you plan something, so when the project finishes, have some sources. Did I do that? Yeah. Have some sources to make it more durable and to work in the future. Unfortunately, as you can see this slide, many people plan computational resources only when project is ongoing. And this is a big problem. We had situation like that. That's why I'm sharing this with you. But as far as I know, it's not only my problem. Many people had these kind of problems. Because if, for example, solution is not commercial, because it's a different story. If you work on something which becomes commercial, then it has its own support. That's fine. But if it's not commercial, how to support it? If your university is not able to support it, you have a problem. So be aware of this computational resources planning, because sometimes it may limit you a lot, especially when the project is done. Important thing. That's why NVIDIA and other companies, they set so many computers all over the world, because they know that universities need their own resources to support different solutions. All right. So another thing, how to assess quality of my AI models. And there are many areas we could talk about, and this is probably the most challenging part, because it's not only the matter of measures we use, it's a matter of impact, of data quality, but also compatibility with the other software you use. So let me briefly go through the problems I've raised. I've borrowed actually from this website, Truera. First, it's related to data quality. Some people say that AI is about data. I don't really agree with that, not fully agree with that, maybe that way, because sometimes you can plan AI, you can work with AI having very limited data, very small data set, etc. But still, in most of the fields we are active in, we need to have good data. So I show you on this honeycomb how many different problems are related to data quality, like consistency, validity, etc., etc. So it's good to go with this classical statistical test to assess data quality before you start to work upon the AI models. This is very important part of the job. Now it's even called data engineering. In the past, people, of course, those more aware, they've been working a lot with data. But now we see how much work it is, and we have a specific job. It's called data engineer. So before it lands, it goes to the data scientist. It needs to be prepared, pre-processed, checked, corrected, etc., by data engineer. Performance. Sorry, yeah, it's fine. So now we have to assess the model. And one of the most common approach is confusion matrix. You can see confusion matrix here. And we have different measures like precision, negative prediction value. The fact is that all of these measures, they come from confusion matrix. It's only a matter of the sequence. It's only the matter of the sequence. What do you do in this math equation? But everything comes, most of these measures, maybe not all over the world, but most we use in science, they come from confusion matrix. And what I would advise you at this stage is something else which comes from my practice. Don't rely only on confusion matrix, which is produced during the training process. So what I did, and it has some good results. I usually train my models with very specific data. Then I have very similar data, and I produce another confusion matrix. So it's not only about the training at one stage, it's also checking. Training is one part, but then checking with other data sets, maybe with other additional data sets if you have chance to do that. Because it happens quite often that your model during the training process is amazing, using different parameters, but still when it's applied to the real-time data, it's quite poor. So please bear in mind, it's good to use this confusion matrix into different aspects of your work. Then we have operational comparability. It's a huge problem. I'll tell you very quickly. And I believe that MLOps, because now we have another job, which is called MLOps, machine learning operations, they need to deploy these models rightly to work with different applications. We have so many different solutions. I really like MLflow, which is delivered by Databricks. It's quite easy, but it's very effective. And what I really love in MLflow recently, you can apply this software to apply large language models, for example. So it's not only about your own models you prepared for different analyses. You can use external models being put it to the operations. So this operational comparability is very important thing. Why I'm sharing this? Because we've been struggling a lot sometimes to share our solutions with the rest of the world because of this operational comparability. So, and the last thing, which is very hot topic nowadays, and it's gonna be even more hot in the future, is social impact of your models. You know that we have AI Act right now in Europe. It's been accepted by European institutions. Now it needs to be implemented in national law in your countries. So it's gonna be very interesting how it's gonna be accepted. And we have different risks related to AI solutions in the AI Act, but the problem is very practical. How to assess these risks using different programming, for example, like in this case, programming tools, because you will be entitled to prove that your model, that your solution is not harming society in general. I'm just saying in general. And we have some libraries, some restaurants like the bias, audit, etc., that are able to audit your solution, but still so many different biases possible in AI that one library probably will not be able to do all the job for you. So I'm just raising this problem because it's going to be huge challenge, especially for small companies that are not having such a huge resources in terms of developers they play with. So this is also science. So we have to be aware that we have to prove that our models are good enough and are not harming society. How to start? How to start your career with AI in science? So this is what I was mentioning before. I really recommend you to use Hugging Face website. Hugging Face website has something called models. If you go to models, you will see on your left-hand side, you will see different tasks that AI models are able to do. So if you go through these tasks, I'm sure that you'll be able to match this task with your job, with your scientific job. And this is the easiest way to start your AI career. So I have a problem. I go to Hugging Face. I search for the model. I search for the tasks. Let me go to the another. Sorry. Oh, here we have three areas of tasks that are related to AI. First is computer vision. Second is natural language processing, and third is audio. So maybe not all of us, but most of us play with images, different images. We play with natural language processing. It could be recorded, then it's transformed into textual corpus, but still is natural language. Sometimes we play with audio. So you see, we have different tasks like object detection, text to image, which is one of the tasks, question answering, etc., etc. So if you go there, you can simply click on one of these buttons, and then you send to the models that are available for your job. And this is how everything starts. Why I'm introducing Hugging Face, I really love it because they give you very good examples how this model works. So first of all, you will be delivered with the code, how to implement this model in your resource. And in this case, I think everything is based on Python, but simply you can use Google Colaboratory if you're not interested in installing Python at your computer. You can use Google Colaboratory. You can use, for example, a good notebook called Jupyter Notebook, and simply you copy paste the code from the Hugging Face, and these models, they land down in your private computer, and you can start playing with AI very quickly and matching this AI with your scientific problems. So that's why I'm introducing Hugging Face. Many people forget about Hugging Face. I don't know why. And the thing is, the Hugging Face recently is being even better than it was in the past. Why? Because Hugging Face started to offer large models. So it's not only about ChatGPT. We know we have Gemini, etc., etc. But think about large models being available from Hugging Face. Of course, they are heavy, like 100 gigabytes or even more. And this is on the attention head, but still, you can download everything in your resource. You can close this model from outside world, and you can start training, playing with this model for your purposes. And it's happening quite often in science nowadays, but not only in science, also in business. Business needs large language models for different purposes. And very often they use Hugging Face models. For example, DALL-E model, very famous of NVIDIA, can be found there. Zephyr, Mistral, lot of them. All right, let me go to more practical cases. Let's talk a little bit more about practice. I know it was very theoretical, but as I said, based on experience, so sorry if it was boring for some of you. Now I try to be less boring. So this is the way it works in practice. You see, we have only 4 lines of code. These are only 4 lines of code. And what's really important in here is Transformers library. Transformers library comes from Hugging Face. This is Hugging Face library. So it helps you to import the pipeline, and this pipeline sends you to very specific tasks. What we're interested in this case, in sentiment analysis. This is what we do. So look at that. In first line of code, I simply upload the library, especially from the Transformers library, I import pipeline dimension of this library. Then I connect it with sentiment analysis task, and I'm trying to check how it works. First, I love you, I hate you. So we have 2 cases. Let's assess it. Positive, negative, 99%, even almost 100%. Yeah, perfect, very easy. But guys, this is very important because those models, sometimes they're not GPT-4, sometimes they're not GPT-4.5, sometimes they're simply GPT-3 or GPT-2 and something, doesn't really matter. But very often, they're good enough to help you with your scientific work. Be aware of that. It's not really good to start with very complex solutions, sometimes for very simple problems. You need to adjust your problem to the solutions to AI solutions you're trying to apply in the job. So Hugging Face could be kind of initial step to test what's going on there. But I'm telling you, of course, there is a chance to play with this code and to write hundreds of lines of code to make it perfect. So this is how it works. I have some Colab for you. See if I have time, I share it. If not, it's recorded, so you can share it later. So then have a look at ChatGPT, the same task. We can use ChatGPT. This is not a problem at all. But I asked ChatGPT in my prompt, can you provide a numerical score? And you see, it's something like +1, -1. I don't understand it. I don't know how it was counted. I can ask to deliver the equation, everything, etc. But the problem with ChatGPT is that sometimes we're using this tool for different purposes, but we don't exactly know how it works. It's been raised even today during the conference. There is a stream of the literature in different scientific fields showing how AI behaves in relation to a very specific task people do. The problem is that these are very temporary research because ChatGPT is changing very quickly. So imagine that the architecture of ChatGPT has changed. Everything in the results of this article would change too. So this is the problem with ChatGPT. We don't have a chance to see what's inside, but still we're using for different research. Well, it's useful to translate, to do different things, but not really, in my opinion, in very advanced scientific research. Of course, depends what you do, but I'm talking about my experience. Another very important source of good AI models is, of course, OpenAI. ChatGPT comes from OpenAI, but if you go to OpenAI Playground, but those using the paid version of OpenAI, all of you have access to OpenAI Playground. If you go there, you have access to very, very good AI models being delivered by OpenAI Foundation. And this is one of the many examples. It's called Whisper. And this model is being able to translate, to convert audio text into the textual corpus. Sorry, audio into the text. Simply, audio to the text. And what's really interesting, if you look at this slide, there is a parameter called language. I just turned into English. In fact, it was me speaking in Polish, but in one click, in few seconds, I translated everything into English. And if you look on the right side of the screen, you see some of the languages being used in this model. And the number tells you what's the problem, what's the error level within the very specific language of this model. So believe me, I was comparing for few languages at least I'm a little bit familiar with, and in my opinion, it works very well. And why I'm mentioning this? Because very often as a scientist, we have a task to make a transcription from audio to text. Now it takes few seconds and it costs you few pennies. Very cheap, very quick. In my opinion, very good quality. Right. So more advanced but classical approach. So here you see the example of convolutional neural networks, one of the projects we've been playing with. We will be developing this project. So if you're interested, you are invited. We will try to apply our 7 Tesla fMRI to improve the quality of the pictures we're playing with. For example, in this case, in brain tumor recognition. It's very hot topic, of course, in medicine, because many people, many scientists, many doctors are trying to evaluate, to develop tools that will be able to detect tumor. Of course, if you detect it quickly, the chances of patient to survive are much bigger. If it's too late, it might be simply too late in terms of death. So here is the example. So how it was prepared. Simple Jupyter notebook. You don't have to play with very advanced programming environments. And here is the architecture of the network. So the layers. And what's important, everything was prepared in PyTorch. PyTorch is very good in this computer vision task. And my comment and comments also of my colleagues is that PyTorch now is probably the best. Why? Because some people say TensorFlow is so strange, so complicated, we don't understand TensorFlow any longer. So they turn to PyTorch. Anyway, one of many solutions. I just propose you using this library. So let's go to the other issues that might be also related to our work, which are related to some chances, risk, etc. So there is a data collection process. You need to be really careful with collecting data for AI tools. Be 3 times, check everything 3, maybe 10 times before you use this data, because it's a huge problem, especially with the privacy, that sometimes we use the sources that should not be used by us. And I don't know how it works. You have your own regulation in your own country, but in fact, nowadays, to check what you use in your models, it's possible, and we can say, for example, that sorry, but you didn't have the rights to use this data for your scientific work, and you might have problems. The other thing is, I'm gonna just skip the data use because it's very similar to data collection, but I'm talking about data security. Very, very huge problem. One of my colleagues, she recently told me she's been on a conference, and then they had a conversation about data. They said that the European scientists, they had amazing data collected on the private server, but it was stealed by, let's say, big empire. I'm not gonna mention the name because maybe some of you are related to that. So, and the people from that country published articles, and those who've been collecting data, who've been working on data, they were not able to publish anything because it's been already published by others who stole the data. So be careful with the data security. It's a huge problem, and we live in open world, but still data is gold of 21st century. So be aware of that. And of course, there is also malicious use, dual use. Be aware of the fact that sometimes the data you produce, you store, you share with others may have double use, like could be used to produce deep fakes, or could be even used to start cyber attacks. Authorship. This is really huge problem. Last conversation we had in university. Who is the owner? Who is the owner of the AI output? Model owner, or the prompt author? I don't have a good answer for you, because even lawyers, they don't have a straightforward answer. It depends, and it also depends on your country law, but still, for example, Midjourney at my country says, this is the official interpretation, that Midjourney is not the person. As it's not the person, it has no rights to the output. So you can use it, but it may be different in your country. So when you travel a lot, for example, use different data, make sure how it works in a very specific country you are engaged in the project. It might be a problem. And another question, who takes responsibility for AI content? That's a good question, because if you make mistake, for example, and you may believe the model is perfect, but it's not perfect, and it harms somebody, who takes responsibility for that? You might be the person who is in charge, not the person who, sorry, I'm trying to return. I cannot return. I don't know why. All right, what's going on? Sorry, guys. For some reasons, I cannot come back. Okay. So I skipped 2 topics. Another problems related to authorship. Just very quickly, you know that nowadays we're not able to use ChatGPT, and to mention ChatGPT as an author, it's actually working everywhere. This is very universal law. And if you search for the very official interpretation of that, go to COPE position statement, which is the Commission of Publication Ethics, and you will see what do they propose and how it should be used. And of course, this is the starting point for the big journals. They use this law as a starting point, and they have to, because it's official international interpretation. So the authorship is very big problem, but of course, ChatGPT cannot be author nowadays. All right, so now another thing in academia related to AI work, especially when we're trying to be a good scientist teachers, how to check whether something was produced by AI or not. We have different tools. One of them you can see here, writer.com, that's supposed to be able to detect AI content. And I'm telling you, it's not able. I was testing different solutions. They are not working at all. They're working very randomly, and I believe it's simply impossible to detect AI content, especially when it was paraphrased. We have paraphrasing tools, so many smart people, before they submit AI content somewhere, I'm talking about our students because it happens quite often, they use paraphrasing tools, and we are able to detect nothing, simply. So I'm very skeptical about this kind of approach. I would rather propose my colleagues from academia to change the final output of MA or BA studies. It should not be maybe the written work, maybe something different, because we simply not able to detect it. Here is more about content rights, about this Midjourney model, so I can skip it. I'm just trying to hold the time. And we have lot of ethical issues. How to be scientists nowadays with AI if we have so many problems, like we want to create summaries, sometimes we paraphrasing text, but everything, it has its ethical aspect, and you have to be aware of the problems related to the tasks you may apply. Some are more or less abandoned in a very specific country, and in general, the others, well, maybe this is not such a huge intervene into scientific process. So very interesting ethical topics, and I also send you to read a little bit more in this custom writing website. So what we can do with ChatGPT? Everything. I'm gonna skip it. It's boring. Nothing interesting. We can do everything, almost everything. But in the end, I'm gonna show you some nice tools I use that might help in your scientific work. So I started to work with Elicit some time ago. It's changed a lot now. It's paid version, but you have some free functions also. And it's amazing for literature review. It's amazing for literature review. Why? Because you can mark columns you want to get in return. What does it mean? For example, I'm methodologies. I'm also programming, so I'm always interested in methodology. So when I mark the column methodology, it returns everything about the methodology being applied in a very specific article. And believe me, it works. I remember I had a meeting with my colleagues from medical university. I was completely out of the problem they've been interested in. So I used Elicit to get familiar with that problem. When I joined the meeting, I knew more than they knew. So it was really, really, really funny because of the Elicit. So I like it. Non-clinical symptoms, this is the problem I'm talking about, and it's really amazing. Site AI, it shows, you see, this is called site application. Okay, maybe I can skip this one. It's not that cool, and there are others. But well, if you have time, go and check it. Lead maps, that might be interested because it shows how your article might be related to the other articles being published in academia. So maybe you search, you're interested in a very specific problem, and you search for similar research, or at least research that could be a match with your research, and then you have a tool that helps you to find them. And it's very useful because when we do literature review, we open. Okay. Connected papers is very similar tool. It also works the same way. One is cheaper, the other one is more expensive. So depends what you like. All right. So some projects we do. I don't know, Kostas, do I have time? Because I'm just
And
trying.
you have 5 minutes to reach the overall time. So if you can sum up within 5 minutes, it would be excellent in order to give time to some questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So some of our projects, for example, now we involved where we use AI is European Social Survey. I know that there might be colleagues who are engaged in this project, but what we do in Poland at the moment, we're trying to build an AI tool that will help us to classify the jobs from the ESCO classification, ISCO classification, sorry, that will help us to classify jobs based on survey participants' answers. So people talk about themselves, what they do in their jobs, what they're interested in, etc., etc. And how it was done till now. There was a person who's coding these answers to the very specific jobs. Now we have very good teaching material to build our own model that we're able to do that. We have some experience doing market research about the labor market. I'm going to show you too. So some preliminary research we already have. That would be a big problem, honestly, to build such a tool. The problem is that there are so many classes and the set is very unbalanced. Even having data from many years, still the classification was changing. A lot of challenges related to this issue, but very interesting one at the same time. Let me go to the other one. This is very nice. This is also an LP. Gender financial language. What we do, we're trying to detect, we're trying to build models, and we already built few that are able to detect who's talking about the finance, woman or man. The hidden assumption was that women and men speak different language about finance, and they really do. They really do. Of course, we know some words they use, blah, 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 but we've been interested in certain hidden patterns behind that language that will help people to recognize who's speaking about language. There are some publications being prepared. Hopefully they will be published soon. So you will see how it works in our case. The big challenge in Polish is that Polish is quite a complicated language. There are some articles in English about English language, but it's much more difficult when we talk about local languages, and Polish is very difficult to be analyzed with NLP. But of course, is problem we can overcome. Market skills. This is another very interesting project that has been finished by us. We've been interested in skills in demand at the moment, and we've been trying also to predict the skills of the future. How to do that? Of course, there is a lot of theoretical talks on it, but we had data for last 5 years from the bigger job advertiser, online job advertiser in Poland. It's called Pracuj.pl company. And we signed an agreement, and we've been delivered with data from the last 5 years, which is really huge database, really huge database. So we prepared very interesting dictionary that was translating very specific areas to the jobs, then from jobs to the very specific skills, then from skills to the very specific words that have been words, phrases, etc. that have been inside these ads. But also we use AI to help us to classify these ads to the very specific skills. And we've got some preliminary, maybe not preliminary research. This is the report. We've got one publication and another one will be published pretty soon about it. So it's very hot topic, because in academia, what we have at the moment is how to educate our students to be in demand in the future. Honestly, nobody knows. It's very difficult because the market is so dynamic nowadays. That's well, to adjust academia to the market, it's a huge challenge. And the last one I already mentioned, brain tumor, very interesting. We'll be working on it because it's amazing, and few more on the horizon. We didn't start them yet, so I won't share this result with you. No information about these projects. So I think I'm over, and I think I'm within the time, maybe 2 minutes before, so it's almost perfect. So like a final word, I would say that guys, I really encourage you to use AI in your work, no matter who you are, whether you represent a humanistic science, social science, whether you represent science in general, everywhere. AI can be applied everywhere. Why? Because it automates our work. It helps to discover things we're not able to discover as a people. And well, it makes our scientific discoveries simply greater. But as I showed you, it might be quite challenges, but at the same time, there are ways to overwhelm these problems and to start working in a very easy way, like Hugging Face. So thank you very much for my presentation, and now I'm open for your questions, and we can start.
Thank you very much, Kamil, for this very interesting and very informative presentation. If you can please stop sharing the screen. There are some questions in the chat, but I would like to give the floor to people to ask directly first. Yes, Isaiah. Isaiah is from Muzepe University in Tanzania. So Isaiah, the floor is yours, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, as I've been introduced, I'm Isaiah Lupogo from Mzumbe University, Tanzania. I thank the presenter for a very nice presentation. Probably my question is not going to be very specific. I just want to ask a very general question as far as the use of AI is concerned. Mm-hmm. I understand, despite the fact that so many publications have reported the good side of AI, but we acknowledge and understand there are so many countries which have banned the use of AI. Therefore, now my question is, what is your view pertaining to those discrepancies to AI? Some are banning it, and to my side, I'm trying to think about our kids who are now growing. They confront this AI. Each and everything is subjected into AI. The AI is working on it. Then these kids are going to lack the very basic ABCs, you see, basic skills, analysis skills. Everything is subjected into AI. Therefore, my worry is what kind of generation are we going to raise? You know, it's like you and me, it's okay. We have been groomed. We know those skills, despite the fact that we can subject some things into AI. It can perform, but we can also do them on our own. Therefore, my question now: what is the future of this AI? What do we do? What is our suggestion? Should we keep on popularizing and insisting the use of AI? Probably we should have some limitations and in some context, so as we cannot go to that hell kind of context. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your question. It's probably well addressed as I'm sociologist too, but still I don't have ultimate answer. But let me start with a very interesting book recently written by Julian Twench called iGeneration. iGeneration. It shows a lot how American young people change recently because of different digital tools. And there are a lot of answers for the question you just posed now, but just my personal view is very skeptical. I'm not so optimistic about AI when we talk about the kids' life. I was talking about the science, but in general, I'm in favor of banning AI from schools. Maybe not from schools in a very classical way, but I'm rather in favor of banning mobile phones from schools when people are there. So this is my first thing. The other thing, I'm very skeptical about something which is called in sociology sociability, which is our ability to relate with other people. If we're so prone to accept AI in different areas of our life, and at the same time we're losing our ability to relate with other people in the real life. This is really huge problem. Now we're facing psychologists, sociologists, because people are getting close into these tools of AI tools. Why? Because AI tool can help you a lot, can answer your questions straight, can fulfill your needs very quickly. So why you need people for if you have AI? This is a huge risk, and the problem of narcissism, of egoism is getting stronger and stronger, and people lose in general the ability to keep relations with others. So we need to be very careful. I'm very skeptic when we talk about the future, but well, we cannot do much, to be honest. I don't know if I answered straight the question, but of course there are so many small questions inside we could talk about. But anyway, thank you. It was very interesting.
I mean, if there are more questions, Isaiah, Philippe Camille has shared his email, or he can share it again in the chat, so you can continue this discussion if this is the issue. Isaiah, the floor is yours.
Okay, I'm just searching for the question in the
chat. Okay, I will read it for you from Joanna Tatsif, a colleague from Albania. Is ChatGPT posing any threat on students' motivation, research commitment?
Yes, absolutely. This is a really huge problem. We need to teach students to use these AI tools, not to lose their engagement. They are, of course, late. I mean, this is a huge problem in general because it's about the education, how to educate people nowadays. And there is a misconception in my view that teachers will never be, that they will not be in demand in the future because of the AI. No, they will be not in demand if we talk about the information searching process. That's true. Because ChatGPT is able, not only ChatGPT, this kind of tools, to deliver you information very quickly. But when we talk about the general understanding, the question, the structure of knowledge, etc., young people still need teachers. So what one of my colleagues yesterday said, it was very interesting. He said, our role now is to redefine our lectures to engage young people the way to give them tasks to use, for example, ChatGPT for something, and then to explain everything, and then to consult it with the teachers. So if we go that way, maybe the engagement will not be lower. It will have no negative impact on students' engagement.
I totally agree, because in this case, you are aligned with the tools that are available in our era. At the same time, you develop their confidence how to trust the ChatGPT, because you discuss with them, how they should think, how do they check, how they should cross-check their knowledge with the available tools. So you build confidence and at the same time trust, to a tool that should be integrated. I think this is something that we should do in any case, with ChatGPT or without. But ChatGPT is a tool now. I totally agree with your colleague. How the other one is like, how from the same colleague, how is plagiarism checked in students? ChatGPT produced written tasks we assign. I think that Camille has mentioned some tools, but I don't know if you would like to add some extra things?
Okay, let me tell you something very important, because some people believe that we can produce tools that will be able to check plagiarism. It's impossible. Why? Because there is a lot of probabilism behind these kind of tools, which means that they never answer this. They never give you the same answers for the same question. That's the first thing. There is only one solution. It's called digital mark. It was discussed few years ago, maybe not few years, few months ago, within the group of the scientists, to give specific digital mark for every output produced by big models. But it will make internet and this kind of tools very slow. But this is the only method, because anywhere it's used, it has hidden meta information called digital mark that it was produced by AI. So this is the way you can recognize this. The other ways, in my view, are simply impossible.
Excellent. I would like to give the floor to Dr. Chow. Dr. Chow, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much, Camille and Costa, for organizing this and very interesting presentation. You had mentioned a bit on the different ways to actually interact with the AI modeling. One of it is the whether through coding, or the other one is without coding. And I know many people are actually interested to actually try this out without coding. And maybe, what do you see the future here, for coding? Do you see the direction of demanding for coding direction increasing or being lowered with these options of maybe these capabilities of interacting with it without coding language capabilities?
Yes, this is very hot question too nowadays, because we all think whether programming will be the future or not. And I can simply say this is not the future. But what I'm trying to say too is also that don't resign from learning coding. Why? Because we still need to understand these tools work. It's very easy to get the results, to get the code, to get the script from ChatGPT, to apply it, then just to realize, no, it makes mistakes. If you don't understand what's inside, there is a great trick that you will apply it into the correct way. So that's why I think still programming is very neat, and programming gives you something extra. I called it algorithmic way of thinking. This is what I've mentioned already. So, you can split tasks into smaller things. You start with the general question, then you find the variables, then you find the measures, etc., etc., and finally you get the solution. So this is how programming works. You have to understand the structure of the problem, etc., etc. So for those reasons, I still believe that teaching programming is really needed in future. But if you ask me whether the programmers will be in demand on labor market, I would say not in that extent as they are at the moment.
I think also, like to use programming is also a defense on how probably, some machine learning will happen using, let's say, in a wrong way the data. So you need to intervene. I mean, you need to have an access to stop sometimes. Like, I don't know, I was ready to ask you, how do we face fake news? Because, fake news can be produced by using in a wrong way existing data. So you need to intervene. It's like, I think it's like a shielding, like it's a safety net for the moment. Dr. Chow, are you happy with the response? Do you want?
Yeah, thank you very much. This was well explained. Thank you very much, Camille and Constance.
And we have another question again from Africa, from Lucy Masoi, who is a colleague there. Thank you for a very nice presentation. One question: how can funding agencies support sustainable development and application of AI in science?
Oh, this is something I don't know what to answer to because it's not the field of my research. My God, no, I'm not able to answer. If you give me a chance to answer it somehow in a written way when I get familiar with the knowledge in this field, I will answer. But at this stage, I'm not.
To be honest, I mean, this should be integrated, this funding regarding the support and the integration of AI within the science. Either is like the processing of data, either is like, the linking the data with protocols and models that can develop, further scientific, kind of discoveries. You usually, in the old days, we used modeling like MathCAD and Mathematica in order to model. I mean, this is something that if you would like to interlink and increase and enhance the impact of science, AI should be there because it gives you the process, of the use of very big data and regarding the number in an optimum way. I think that, they start, to funding, the use. And you can see over there that right now we have this AI ethics, how to use, AI in the European level. They have, this kind of protocol, the regulation, how to use AI. So I think that they are moving over there. I have a question to you. It's like, as an expert, and this is the last one, I think. I would like to close the door. How much AI can impact research writing, scientific writing? I mean, not only, in a good way, not, constructing something from ChatGPT.
Okay, let me share my experience because when I write nowadays, I use a lot of AI, but I'm not talking about the constructing my thoughts and things like that, mostly for translation. And it helps me so much because when I write in English, I can straight translate the text I have. The thing is that very often I don't like the quality of the translation I get from ChatGPT because I'm using ChatGPT for that. So I'm prompting, saying, no, this is not the word. I'm changing the words. I'm changing the structure. But in the end of the day, you can write your own instance of the ChatGPT, which means you have this option just to say ChatGPT, who you are, what do you want from ChatGPT, etc., etc. So if you, for example, translating quite frequently, you may say what you want, who you are, blah, 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 blah. So it impacts very, very positively in this way. But of course, if you ask AI tools to do the job instead of you, well, this is actually a plagiarism. It's not your job. This is a huge problem. And as a scientist, we need to be aware that this practice is not allowed.
I mean, but this gives me the opportunity to tell you that, they used to say that the ChatGPT is not creating a plagiarism. It's creating something innovative by combining, existing things. What is your position on this?
ChatGPT is based on a very specific data, yeah? So
Yes.
Whatever you get, it was already published somewhere. So it can't be, combination, hallucination, whatever.
Combination, it could be something innovative. I mean, you don't need to
could be.
discover something new. You can combine existing things and still is an innovative thing.
The question you ask is very interesting. It's called human ChatGPT relationship. So how to be scientists in this relationship with, for example, ChatGPT, because we talk about ChatGPT. I do agree with you that it can challenge, for example, your work. So in that way, you can get a feedback, for example, from ChatGPT, and you see maybe you can improve something, maybe you're not good in something, etc., etc. So in that way, I really accept it. Of course, the problem starts when you start using ChatGPT to do everything for you. There is kind of joke in Polish. We have very funny situation nowadays that ChatGPT is writing essays and then ChatGPT is checking these essays. So I want to avoid this situation because it's very strange. And just using this moment, coming to Lucy's question. Sorry, I didn't understand it well. Well, there are different ways, but I think Kostas already answered a lot of these questions. So sorry for didn't answer straight because I was a little bit lost with it.
Thank you very much, Camille. I would like to thank all of you. Next week, we have a speaker from Poland, but she works in ETH Zurich right now. She's going to speak about old and young carbon, a clock made in the universe. So I'm strongly inviting you to follow this next Athena talk that will happen next week in the same time, every Friday at 12 o'clock CT. Camille, thank you very much. The recording will be uploaded to the channels of Athena, and stay safe and keep, interacting with us because we need this interaction. On behalf of myself and my colleagues, I can see George Kavoulakis and George Kakavelakis on behalf of my university, Hellenic Mediterranean University, and the Athena Alliance, I would like to thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the invitation and have a great day. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Bye.